And as soon as we see it, the pictures start. Okay. All right, so we have all counselors plus Chief Raines.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is Allison still there?
Mhm. Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council. I'll ask for a roll call of councilors present. Councilor Anderson,
Present.
Councilor Golembeski,
Present.
Councilor Mataronis. You are muted, sir.
Present.
Councilor Moore,
Present.
Councilor Mushin, present. We have a quorum, all 5 councilors, the town administrator, and our solicitor and the police chief are with us, as well as the town clerk. May I ask that the town clerk, in anticipation of item new business 1, proceed to open the bids that have been received, so as when we get to that item, we'll have that at least begun. First item of business on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of July 9th.
Motion to approve the July 19th town council meeting unless anybody wants to pull anything, make any corrections or additions to it.
Second.
The motion is made by Councilor Mataronis, seconded by Councilor Moore to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote, we've made a motion to vote on them, but I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Councilor Mushin, aye. The next item is announcements. There are none printed in the agenda. Let me suggest that a couple are in order. One, we conducted this morning with the great assistance of the state offices, a municipal resiliency program workshop, an outstanding, frankly, effort to participate in, speaking as a participant. Very well done using virtual meeting skills of Zoom and breakout groups, some very good material that will be brought forward that the town will be able to see, those who weren't there. We had over 30 town residents participating, and we're very grateful for each one of those. My special thanks to Councilor Anderson, whose leadership of the team made this happen in a timely fashion and in an effective fashion. I really appreciate that, as well as the administrator and his work. So we'll get you more information on that, you, the public, and you, the rest of the council. But you can rest assured that we had a good deliberation on a lot of topics with respect to the resiliency of the town. I think you'll find that we've captured the essence of it.
Can I just add, Bob? This is
Please, yes.
Councilmember Anderson. I want to echo your assessment. And of course, I'm sort of prejudiced. I was in on it too, but I definitely agree that it was very well done. That's what we hope for, that this program is very structured and efficient, but in a short period of time, I think a lot of ground was covered in a way that will bring us a focused product in the form of a summary report. And, you know, the reports I've had back from participants were very enthusiastic and grateful for this opportunity.
Good.
And I think we want to keep in mind that that there is a potential practical benefit for this, because we will become eligible to compete for grants, perhaps for projects that were identified today that could be beneficial to the town in actually addressing some of the issues. It will be relatively modest on the scale of the need, but it will be a real concrete incentive that we've had to proceed. And I think, as some of us discussed before, it will have been useful to establish a relationship with the infrastructure bank going forward. So, but especially it was the involvement of the citizens that was the important thing.
Yeah.
I want to thank Bob and Tony in particular for sticking with me through this. Well, they had a lot on their minds. So thank you.
Administrator, comments from you, sir.
Certainly, I think I'm on my, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just being sure I didn't mute myself. No, certainly, I have to concur with the comments already made by both of you. It was a great, a great workshop. I certainly learned much from it and certainly picked up quite a few ideas for us to carry forward, as we move towards other plans that we may have in the future. And as Councilman Anderson pointed out, the possibility of us, acquiring some grant funding through this, it's wonderful to really make a difference with some of the vulnerabilities that we have in town.
Thank you. In follow to that, let me just reemphasize the importance of the census. That wasn't what we talked about today in the MRP, but being able to name every single person who's here in town is going to be important to our ability to say, here's the number of people we're benefiting from any proposal we put forward. So if you haven't taken the opportunity to finish your census, they're still receiving. So look forward to that. Any other announcements? All right, the department head report that we have in hand is that of the police department. The police chief is with us here.
Motion to place the police chief's report for June 2020 on file unless anybody has any questions or comments. And if the chief would like to comment on it.
Second.
Motion by Mataronis, second by Moore. Chief, anything to add?
Nothing to add. I just apologize for the tardiness.
Thank you. Are you ready to vote? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote? I'm sorry, sir, you're muted.
Muted. I vote aye. Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. That'll be placed on file. Next is old business one, a report from the town administrator on the status of the finance director applicant search. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. We had two candidates that replied. Out of those, when I called them to set up interviews, one opt out. So we only end up with one candidate, which we had the opportunity to interview yesterday. Myself, Town Clerk Carol, President Mushin, and John McNamee, the business manager for the school. We had the opportunity to meet, and certainly he brings a lot to the table. A candidate that certainly could, that we could, could really benefit, could support the position. But in the meantime, I have to do a little homework and check references and all that. Then I'll come back to the council with a recommendation.
Thank you. It's a positive note at the end of this point in our search where we had found no candidate yet. We think there's someone who's viable now that we're going to be investigating. Great. Any questions on that? All right, next is a report from Councilor Mataronis on the South Fork Wind Farm project. If you actually the comment request for that project. As you may recall, we got a rather large package asking us to respond by the end of the month. And we tasked two of us to go off and bring back a proposal. Yes, sir.
Bob, do you want to read the letter that was written?
Sure. The letter that's been proposed to Scott Phillips, he's the section lead, thanks him for his letter of 29 June inquiring about our interest in participating as a consulting party on the review of the South Fork Wind Farm construction operations plan. We have no comments on the area of potential effects, that's a category, nor the identification of historic properties within the APE. However, we are interested in potential further participation as a consulting party. The purpose of this letter was to do as we discussed was our likely possibility, which is we don't have anything to say right now, but we'd like to reserve the right to speak later if we need to.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this letter and send it along to Scott Phillips.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to sign and send along the letter. Is there discussion?
Yeah, just, Gary, are these fishing grounds where this ledge, where they're proposing this?
Some of it is, a lot of it goes down to New Jersey. So, I mean, the package was pretty big. I got into a little bit, but not as deep as what I should. I mean, most of these things have already quite a ways along. I'm not sure when they're going to come to fruition because there are fishermen groups, Atlantic Offshore Lobstermen Association, Round Lobstermen Association, Mass Lobstermen Association have all had an input in it. Instead of all of us individually commenting on it, we comment to our associations and then they make comments to protect us as a group, which seems to be more forceful than a bunch of little fishermen trying to make comments on it. But this will keep us in the loop, and anything further they do that may impact us, we'll be able to comment on, so they know that we are still interested.
All set, sir.
Any other discussion? We'll call then for a vote. Councillor Anderson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. That's that item. The next item of business is new business, item 1, to which I made prior reference. We're to receive bid proposals for the drainage project on Swamp Road and Long Pasture Road. And I believe we have a number of bids.
You have 10 bids in all. And actually, I'm just opening the last one now to document that number. So if you give me 2 seconds.
Sure. We meant to go 2 minutes longer so as to get all 10 open.
Okay. This is the result of the 10 that we have received. Narragansett Improvement Company, lump sum bid 106,679, $106,669. Alternate bid 1, which is the bituminous concrete, also known as mill overlay, $25,975. Second bid, Cardi Corporation, lump sum $118,000. Alternate bid 1, $34,000. Third company, JML Excavating. Bid $79,607. Alternate number 1, $19,655. AM Construction. 1 lump sum bid, no alternate listed, $74,885. Fifth company, Catalano. Lump sum bid, $68,090. Alternate, $19,250. Sixth company, Ferreira. $108,500 with an alternate of $33,000. Seventh company, Key Corporation. 1 lump sum bid of $86,000, no alternate. East Coast Construction Company. Base bid, $67,870. Alternate, $19,425. Ninth company, Helger Brothers, $94,186.60. It's 1 lump sum bid. 10th company, CB Utility Company, lump sum $110,000, alternate bid $40,000. That's all 10.
Great.
Council Mataronis, I'm just going to throw this motion out that the Director of Public Works, along with the town administrator, compare the lowest three bids and come back to the council president with a recommendation for council president to authorize and go forward.
If I may, Gary, can you let them review for all, make sure they're all qualify? Because maybe
Sure.
some of the three lowest bids don't even qualify. I just don't want to lock us out of the process.
Well, that's been past practice, but that's fine.
I'll second that.
Counselor Moore, what are you seconding?
Gary's motion with the inclusion that they're all qualified to bid.
The three lowest bidders.
Did you get the motion, Bob?
May I ask for clarification before you take a roll call?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yes,
Yeah, okay. So, Gary, is it your intent that the Director of Public Works and the Town Administrator will review all 10 for accuracy to find out if they qualify? And then from the three lowest, you are authorizing them to award a bid, or do they need to come back to the council?
I mean, we've been working on this area for quite a while. How time sensitive is this, Bob?
I'll ask the administrator to reply then.
We do have some time, so we could actually carry this on to August, to the first meeting in August. There would not be a problem.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to make sure they all qualify and to come back to the town council with the lowest qualifying bidder that meets all required standards.
I'll second.
So the motion is made by Counselor Mataronis, seconded by Counselor Moore, that the town administrator and director of public works review all of the proposals and return to the council at its next meeting with a recommendation from among the the lowest three bids as to which bid they would propose that we approve. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
I'm sorry, just the clarification. So they're going to make sure all 10 are certified, that they're all right. And then out of that 10, they're going to come back with the three lowest bidders back to the council in August of the next meeting.
I would only qualify that with, they're not necessarily going to find that all 10 are. They're going to look at all 10 and they're going to choose from among the qualified ones. Say there are 8 for sake of discussion. They're going to choose from among those 8, the lowest three, the three lowest costing proposals, and return with a recommendation as to one of those 3 from among the whatever number it is that qualify.
On the list that we have right now, say the 2 lowest bidders aren't qualified, then it would be the next 3 up from the 2 lowest bidders.
Mhm.
Yeah, understand what I'm saying? If the one for 68,900 and the one for 67,800 get knocked out because they're not qualified to bid, or they don't have the qualifications, then it would be the next 3 lowest bidders after that.
Right. Okay, okay. I'm all set.
I think Tony he was shaking his head. He understood the
Yeah,
situation, so.
I do.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would just say that I think that gives this is Councilor Anderson. I think that the administrator and the public works director need some room to maneuver, because there could be other factors
Right.
in terms of the responsive bid that may not make it the best choice to pick just the lowest of the 3. So they come back with 3, will at least give them some room to maneuver if there are other factors that we need to take into account for awarding what we hope will be an economical but responsive bid.
Any further discussion? Counselor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. Good work. The next item of business is a request from the community center to close the roadway in front of the community center for a set of time on 3 separate evenings for the Wednesday evening concert series, August 12th, 19th, and 26th. As you might anticipate, within their letter of request, they have agreed to abide by all COVID-19 restrictions. They'll not be serving food or beverages. And they acknowledge working with the police department and the fire department regarding the details of the request should it be approved.
I'll make a motion to approve this, but they definitely need to talk to the fire chief to make sure that it's not going to be a problem. I assume they can go down the south side of Pikes Peak if there's something happening on West Main Road to get by that. But it's only for 2 hours, so I don't see a problem with that.
I'll second it.
So the motion is made by Councilor Mataronis, second by Councilor Golembeski to approve the request subject to those conditions. Is there any further discussion?
This is Councilor Anderson. I should know the answer to this. I don't, and it's been a moving target, but they agreed to meet the COVID restrictions. I'm assuming that one of those may be the maximum. Is there currently a maximum crowd size for an event of this type under the governor's executive orders?
I need to look to be certain, but 250 is the number for gatherings outside for most of those kinds of events. I don't think this is singled out as a particularly different kind, so I would expect it would be 250.
Just if I may, in response to Larry's comment, I think the reason they need the road closed off is to keep the social distancing and everything like that, because normally they have it under the pavilion they built and everybody's jammed around it. I believe they requested the road to spread everything out to meet all the guidelines.
Okay, that was my.
We have the experience, of course, of 2 seasons now of closing the street for a very similar purpose. So I think we have a sense of how that works. Chief Raines, did you have any comment on that?
I did speak with the director from the community center. We've worked out a plan, and that's exactly why they want to move it to the front. They're not going to be able to social distance if they use the pavilion in the rear. So they want to be able to put the band on the front lawn, utilize the street and the grass of the common as well for viewing. And we've also agreed that we're going to have a detail officer there during the event.
All right, good. Any further discussion?
And I just would like to clarify for you that I did ask Mr. Orville to contact the state on the outdoor qualifications. He has done that, and I believe he's well within the standard that we need to have.
Thank you. We'll call then for roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. The matter passes. Next is a request from the police chief for the purchase of a new police vehicle from Highland Tech Services, who's the successful bidder from the recent bidding process.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion is made by Councilor Golembeski, second by Councilor Mataronis to approve the request. Discussion. All right, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of new business is copies of 3 commendations submitted by the police chief showing specific incidents where members of his department went above and beyond to service the community.
Maybe the police chief would like to comment on this.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you very much. So obviously, in the last few months, we've been through a lot as a community. We're policing in a different manner. We're handling investigations differently, but all the while still responding to each and every phone call that we get at the public safety complex. The three commendations, specifically two of them, revolve around medical assist. As a law enforcement officer today, we're forced into different situations other than just law enforcement, whether it be, acting as a social worker or a counselor or even an EMT at times. So Lieutenant Farrier and Officer Farrar responded to a residence with a 19-month-old female who was in medical distress. Our rescue was out of town. They were able to assess the situation, calm the parents, and were handling it until Tiverton Rescue arrived and then later transported the child to the hospital, and all is well at that household. There was another case where Sergeant Martin and Officer Leclerc, on the same day, a Sunday afternoon, had to go to two separate residents and perform CPR because of the rescue being out of town. So, with the rescue calls up, we are amply filling in, and all of the department has done an outstanding job over the last 4 or 5 months, not only filling in for other things, but handling the pandemic.
Gary Mataronis here. Chief, is there a formal commendation that actually goes into the jacket file on this, or is it just what you've written down here, paperwork?
So that letter of commendation does go into their jacket, becomes a permanent record. I am in the process of developing a commendation policy where there'll be different levels, a letter of commendation, an actual physical commendation, and then, we're going to develop some kind of honor that is one of those well above the call of duty type things. So we're going to begin that policy procedure pretty soon and add that to the department's policies. We're doing some incredible work, and they should all be recognized for that. So I want to put that in place.
Well, when that formal commendation comes forward, maybe you should bring it back to the council so we can personally thank them for their call to duty above and beyond.
I will, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a thought too, that this degree and spread of performance doesn't happen without an attitude within the department as a whole, even amongst those who may not be commended, that this is the way we do business. And I'm very grateful that I live in a town like this with that kind of response.
It certainly makes my job a little easier when we have such qualified people.
Well, sir, I'll make a motion, since these are, we already know they're going into their permanent records, which is, I'm grateful for. I'll just make a motion to place them on file.
Second.
The motion is to place these on file, made by Councilor Golembeski, second by Councilor Mataronis. Any further discussion? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is a memorandum from the town administrator, whom you may recall we tasked back in the earlier days of COVID with coming back to us with a recommendation as to how to recognize the performance of two of our department heads who achieved a level of qualification that's above and beyond that which is part of their job description, in the sense that there are many people serving without these qualifications. That is the town clerk, Carol Wardell, achieving a CMC status, and Denise Cosgrove for her certification as a Rhode Island certified assessor. Administrator, would you like to speak to this, or would you like me to go through what it is that you've recommended here.
I would just ask you that you cover that yourself. Okay, thank you.
The administrator and I spent some time in discussing this and decided that the effective way to reward this and to encourage what we've asked some of the other union members to consider is a stipend on an annual basis, which acknowledges level of achievement above and beyond. So his proposal, with which I concur, is that each of them receive a one-time award of $1,000, which covers the year in which they earned it, fiscal 20, and the year coming now, which is when we normally award incentive pay, so that each would receive $1,000 for those two, and then going forward, it would be a $500 award, subject, of course, to the budget creation for that year. Now, one of the things we did in the budgeting process was to ensure that our contingency contained a contingency from which we pay things like merit pay and salary increases that happen out of cycle. So that's where this would be paid from. That portion of the contingency fund I'll refer to it as a salary contingency, but it's intended for this purpose. So that's the source.
I'll move we approve the administrator's recommendations.
Second.
The motion is made by Councilor Golembeski, second by Councilor Mataronis to approve this recommendation. Is there further discussion?
I would just say, Councilmember Anderson, that I agree with this, and I think in a way it's a reflection also of the recognition of the police officers' conduct. Anything we can do to reinforce incentives to always improve standards is
It's a good thing.
important, whether it's public safety work or the day-to-day work here in Town Hall. So I commend them both, and I support this.
Great. That said, Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye. Yeah.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. And congratulations to the town clerk and to the town assessor as well.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. The next item of business is a memorandum from the town administrator seeking authorization to move forward to purchase 3 copy machines. You may recall that in the close of, you can remember fiscal 20, can't you? It was just yesterday. In the close of fiscal 20, we encumbered funds from Town Hall and Board of Canvassers, as well as funds from the information technology line. The administrator is proposing that we purchase these 3 copiers with the encumbered Town Hall and Canvasser funds plus a portion of the IT funds.
Motion to approve these purchases.
Second.
Motion by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve. Any discussion? All right, take a roll call vote. Councilor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is a communication concerns raised by Sheila McIntosh of the sanitary conditions near the Secaucus Harbor Beach. Councilor Mataronis, that's an area of your purview. Would you
Yeah, let
comment?
me give you some history on this. Back when the town dock was put in 1992, 1993, all the commercial fishermen kept all their skiffs over on the southeast of the harbor. There was 2 pathways leading down to them. One was close to the north, was closest to the town dock. We generally use that one. And then there was one to the south. We would use that one also. But there was quite a bit of rocks, and it was, you know, a lot of the guys were, you really had to pay attention when you were going down. It's more like a trail. So probably 6 or 7 years ago on the south one, because some of us are getting a little long in the tooth, I had a stairway installed with a cement platform, and I made it so it would be removable in a hurricane. So most of us use that now. But when that town dock was built and the lights were put on it, it attracted squid. So there's quite a few people from out of town that came down and they used to squid there. Well, some of them come down before it gets dark out, so they're there and they'll stay there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So I guess at certain times they had to relieve themselves, so they would go down that north walkway and they actually cut down a little bit of bushes and they would relieve themselves in that area. So that's been going on for over 20 years. Most of us would put grass over it or whatnot to cover it up. Nobody wanted to handle it. It wasn't on. So I'm not sure what can be done to resolve that. My recommendation would just, maintenance guys still clear that pathway to the south. My recommendation would tell them not to clear that. That would close that up. So that would alleviate them relieving themselves in that area. Where they would go from there, I'm not sure. The other situation, that's not from the people using the beach. That was originally the squid people. The squid people still use it in the spring when the squid come in, but now it's being utilized by people that come down and use the breakwater. When I went down last Saturday, there was probably 10 cars in the parking lot by 6 o'clock in the morning. All of them were fishermen going off to use the breakwater. So I guess if they're out on breakwater 5 or 6 hours and they previously used the town dock, they knew where to relieve themselves. So like I say, I think if we just let the maintenance guys not trim that back, just let it get overgrown, I think that would alleviate that. As far as putting porta johns down there was previously one put in the trailer parking area across from the launching ramp. That was put in by DEM. There used to be 2, then they cut it down to 1. They would take care of that. They're not doing it this year because of COVID-19. They're not putting out porta johns anywhere because I believe they think it's a liability. So if we were to put a porta john, I think we would have the same liability. And my concern is the more amenable it is for out-of-town people to come in and use our facilities, the more are going to come down and do it. So, I mean, what's the next thing? We're going to put tents down the point somewhere so they can sleep over down there. That's my thought on that. But it's not the people using the beach. It's not the residents that are doing it. It's the people that are coming down to go fishing. And then, you know, if anybody walks out on the breakwater, it's such a nice breakwater. It's such a nice place to fish off. It's enjoyable by everybody. But just take a walk out there and see what a pig pen they leave it out there. They utilize it and they throw their bait boxes, they throw their trash, they throw the leftover food on the breakwater. So, I mean, if you're going to come down and use our facilities, I have no problem with that. But take your trash with you and whatever alleviation you do on your own, take it back with you. Don't leave it in our town. So I know Don Maderas sent Don Maderas, the Beach Commission, sent Sheila's pictures and Sheila's video up to DM to get a comment from them on what their thoughts were. So I spoke with him at length yesterday. He hadn't got a comment back from them to see what their thought was on it, but so that's basically a history of what goes on down there.
You're muted, Bob.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, this is Councilmember Anderson. You know, I've been this summer under these unusual circumstances. You know, I've been trying to get down to the point on the weekends, these hot weekends, and I'll be honest. I mean, I watched somebody who I think could have been a town resident relieving themselves right on Rhode Island Road behind their car, open their door. So the volume of activity involves all kinds of people. This particular location, you say this has been going on for 20 years. This is town property. It's not the breakwater. It's not DEM's property. There is a beach there that's a town beach. We're responsible for it. Closing off a trail doesn't relieve our responsibility and our potential liability about public safety and public health. So given the volume of activity that we're not going to control, we're not going to turn people away, whoever they are, who come down there. I don't think we can just pretend that that people are going to control themselves. I have to wonder why we can't, why we shouldn't. We own that property. Why we shouldn't put a couple of porta-johns on that property and maintain them and pay for it. There's a lot of people using that in the summer. We can't pretend there's not an issue. Why can't we do that?
Well, I'm not sure what the liability is. If DEM says they're not putting porta johns up because of their liability, I'm not sure what our liability is. And I've asked the police chief to come up with signage, and you can look, Larry, that fisherman's lot is supposed to be for the fishermen only. It's in one of the ordinances from the harbor management plan. And it's supposed to be for the fishermen. And there was, I put fisherman's sign down there for commercial fishermen only. We've almost had fisticuffs down there because these people are blocking the town dock and they just don't care. They need a place to park, and I understand that. But when they're blocking in the fishermen call me. I tell them call up the police, and the police have been called, and they have to come down and find these people because they just don't care where they park. My son's trailer was blocked in when he came in from offshore 2 trips ago, and he had to call the cops down. Took an hour to find the guy to get the trailer moved out of the way so he could get his trailer out of the way. So, I mean, if you want to invite those people to come down and, do that, that's fine. But I mean, it's creating a problem down there. It's creating a problem for the
I could
fish.
interrupt here, Gary, before this gets too far down the wrong path. This has been referred to the Beach Commission because it is rightfully their jurisdiction. They are pursuing it with DEM, and they are conversing as to how it would be best to handle that. I would suggest that you work together with them and to come up with a good plan of how we can keep it sanitary down there. There's liability both ways. If you ignore it, there's liability. If you put a porta-john down there, there may be some liability. DEM themselves have not said to us that they did not put the porta-johns there for liability. They just said they made a decision during COVID not to put it there. They didn't say that it was because of liability. Not that I've have anything in print or spoken to me directly. So I just suggest that you work together with the Beach Commission on this matter.
That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worth working with the Beach Commission to figure out a solution to maybe provide some facilities down there if DEM doesn't do it. I mean, the town already provides facilities in other locations around town. Specifically at Veterans Field, we've got porta-johns there right now that I think we maintain. And that hasn't been an issue during this pandemic. So I don't see any reason to not do that at this point in other areas around town. These people are coming anyways, so we might as well make sure that the areas are going to be maintained properly and that they've got a place to relieve themselves so they're not finding other property to do that.
Can I suggest, Councilmember Anderson, does it make any sense to include the Harbor Commission in such a discussion?
The Beach Commission is planning on doing that, so yes, I believe it should be all 3 boards.
I would offer a motion then to authorize the town administrator to work with the Harbor Commission and the Beach Commission to investigate alternatives for sanitary facilities in the Secana Point area. That would be my motion.
Second.
Is there a second? So the motion has been made and seconded that the administrator work with the Beach Commission and with the Harbor Commission and return to the council with any recommendation that may involve the council's approval. Is that the intent?
Yes.
Is there discussion on that?
Yeah, Bob, my only concern on this is, it's the old adage, if you build it, they will come. I don't want to, I want to clean it up. I would love to do something that facilitates it. I believe the town already picks the trash up down there, don't they, Gary?
Yeah, they do. Yes.
Yeah, the town picks up the trash, so maybe more trash cans and more, that kind of stuff. I just want a cautionary note on supplying porta-johns on what can happen to porta-johns. They can get really used a lot. And not that that's a bad or a good thing. I just want it as a cautionary tale on, if we put one porta-john, it's not enough, let's put two. Two's not enough, let's put three. Then, where does it stop? And then again, the funding for the porta-johns, is that coming out of the Beach Commission? Is it coming out of the council, the town side? Is it coming out of the harbor? I think all those things just got to be in the discussion that we have on whatever we do.
Okay. That's certainly fair.
All
Any
set,
other-
sir.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Anderson, how do you vote on the
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you, and thanks for the consensus. The next item of business is the consent calendar.
Motion,
No, go ahead, Gary.
motion place consent calendar on file unless anybody would like to pull anything for discussion.
I'll second it.
The motion has been made by Counselor Mataronis, seconded by Counselor Golembeski to place the consent calendar on file. Discussion.
I'd like to, I had a question about number 4, the Chief Rain's letter with regard to the intersection at the western point of Pikes Peak.
Okay. Then we'll remove that item, and the motion then would be to place consent items 1, 2, and 3 on file. Any further discussion? On that motion then, to place the first 3 on file, Counselor Anderson, how do you
I
vote?
vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
There's a lag here.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Now, item 4 in consent, a copy of a letter sent by the police chief to Rhode Island Department of Transportation concerning intersection western point of Pikes Peak on the Commons. Chief, would you like to explain this item?
Sure. In the little over a year that I've been here, we've received 4 either telephone calls or emails in regards to traffic at Pikes Peak. We have not had, over the last 5 years, a large number of actual accidents involving 2 or 3 vehicles. But as a result of, it's a pretty acute angle there at Pikes Peak with a 3-way intersection. The pedestrian traffic, the proximity of the school, and that acute angle where it takes away some of your ability to look over your shoulder, depending on what kind of vehicle you're operating. To avoid any accidents in the future, I had sent a letter to DOT requesting that a stop sign and stop line be placed on the southern side of Commons facing westward. So the westward traffic on the southern side of the Commons heading toward Veterans Field will have to come to a stop. The other 2 would not be affected.
This is Councilmember Anderson. Thank you, Chief, for that explanation. I think this makes sense from my experience. My question simply was, going forward, what is the process the Department of Transportation will now follow to assess and make a decision on this? Is this something they can do in a week, or is it going to take a year and a half?
I don't think it's a week. I'm hoping it's not a year and a half. I would imagine they're going to do some research, do a traffic study in regards to the number of accidents we've had there, and any kind of big change that they're going to make in any roadway. They want to know some statistics. And in the letter, I stated that we have not had a lot of crashes there, but it's the near misses, the proximity to the school. There's actually not a speed limit sign on the south side of Commons. Prima facie would be 25 in that area. It's 20 on the other side because of the school zone. So I'm hoping that they take those into consideration and agree with us and have a stop sign there. I've also placed a phone call to someone within DOT to kind of help move this along as well. And I was let them know that I was willing to speak to anyone I needed to further explain it if they couldn't understand the letter. I also attached a Google Maps to make it a little easier for them to see what I was talking about. It's a little difficult to describe Pikes Peak if you're not from here.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much for that explanation. Thank you.
Bob, if I may,
Yes,
the only concern I have is we're getting the state traffic community involved. They can do some things that we might not think they're going to do. They did it on Long Highway when they, after Ray Helga's accident years ago. We wanted a stop sign at a certain point, and they went beyond and ended up put a stop sign on Colebrook, which created a speedway through there that the residents there are still complaining about because the kids in the school bus can't see them coming the other way. I just want to have a lot of caution as we approach the state and stay actively involved in this. I don't want us to drop the ball, because if they put up a electric street light or something like that, we're all going to get run out of town. So I just want to be aware of what can happen when you ask the state for help. They're good people and they have the best intentions, but it could cause a lot of headaches.
Paul, I was well aware of that. That's why I made that phone call. So I would make sure that if anyone was going to show up, they were going to call first. We had a surprise not too long ago when they started repaving Meeting House.
Exactly.
No one knew they were coming, and we had a little bit of a traffic issue, and I went out there and spoke with the contractor. So that phone call was just to take care of that, hoping to open the lines of communication a little further than a letter.
All right. Well, thank you, Chief.
is there then a motion to place this matter on file, or this letter on file?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made by Golembeski, seconded by,
Mataronis.
Mataronis. Thank you. Discussion being completed. Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. Last item of business is the payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills as written.
Second.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Moore to pay the bills. Any further discussion? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye.
Just maybe a point of order. I'm not sure, sir, and maybe I missed it. I had a dog wanting to leave my office and I might have missed something. The item 4, did we place that on file that we discussed? We did?
Mhm.
Okay, then I'm all set.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. I'll get faster. Is there any discussion? Then on the motion that we adjourn, Councilor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
Councilor Mushin, aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.